Isn't it nice to be needed? And isn't it absolutely a joy to be wanted? You'd be surprised the difference you can make in someone's life. To be needed and to be wanted. Sometimes the people that should need and love are not there. But you can be all the difference. This past Monday, I had the opportunity to bless a few people on Inauguration Day and Martin Luther King Jr. Day to offer some freedom. And they sent me a message. I did not know the difference I had made, the level of it, what it meant to them, because I didn't know them. I just did what I do. We often bless the people we know. And it's wonderful, and we should. But isn't it amazing when someone you don't know is blessed by you? I think I told you about Uncle Bernie, a man I do not know, but I met. And when I was injured, he had shared with me that his wife was suffering the exact same injury. An older woman having a difficult time with this injury. I didn't need surgery, but his wife did. And it was not going well, her recovery. And because I knew some level of difficulty because of my own pain and suffering, I had a greater compassion for her because she was in a much worse condition than I was. And for the next month and a half, I took flowers for him to give to his wife at home. He didn't ask me to do that. It was just something I felt a need to do so that she would know that God cared, that he would invoke a stranger to help her, and encourage her, to pray for her. It meant a lot to her husband. He cried and he hugged me. And it was a wonderful moment that someone would care for someone that he loves. You know what that's like? When somebody cares for somebody that you love. Most people have no, these are older people. Most young people don't appreciate it. When someone is nice to your child, when someone is nice to your spouse, when somebody is nice to your brother, nice to your father, nice to your mother, I think it's something that people do not value. So I can't say they take advantage of it. They don't even know to appreciate it. Someone is nice to somebody that they don't have to be nice to, or somebody does something for someone that they don't have to do. And that was an experience that I had on Martin Luther King Jr. Day this past Monday, Inauguration Day. I decided to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day at a black restaurant in Los Angeles, just to be around more of my people, because where I live, there aren't any. And I wanted to be around my people, being that it was a part of our struggle, the civil rights. Other people who know personally my own history as a people, Black American. And I sat at the counter, and the people didn't seem quite as inspired that it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They have stopped to value it, kind of like what Christians do for Christmas and Easter. It's no longer about Jesus. And he definitely doesn't want to be remembered just on Easter and Christmas anyway. But it's much like that. The gratefulness, the memorial to remember that we weren't always able to walk through the front of a door of a restaurant or drink from the same water fountain or sit in the front of a bus or a train. I remember just the tail end of it in the 60s, because I was born in 63. I remember. It's a difficult thing to have to remember and to think about, witnessing it in the South. And as I said, having the typical soul food type of breakfast and wanted to just sit amongst them and hear, observe, and share. Figured a wonderful conversation would ensue. But mostly, everyone was in their own little world. There was no sense of community or reflection of what to be grateful for. So I struck a conversation with a gentleman next to me. And I believe his wife or his girlfriend was sitting next to him. The man to my left, sitting at this breakfast diner counter, never even looked up to say hello or good morning or anything. He was in his body language saying, "I want to be left alone." I had a good conversation with the gentleman next to me. And it was revealing. He told me that he had visited my city once, Washington, D.C., where I'm from, and that he had never seen Black people like that, because he's from California. He goes, "Man, the people in your city, they're loving. I wasn't used to that. I mean, people I didn't know." He goes, "Man, you brothers in Washington, D.C., you got your stuff together the way you act. The ones out here, we're not that way." I'm like, "I know." He goes, "I really appreciate and respect that about you East Coast brothers, the way you are." He says, "Those are the best people I've ever met." It was wonderful that someone knew my heritage, know the type of tribe I come from on the East Coast. And he did. I got up and went to the car and started to drive back home. And then the Spirit moved upon me. Turn around. Go pay for his breakfast, but don't let him know it. Now, I don't have a lot of resources to do anything with, but I had enough resources to obey God. And I went back and called the waitress over so he couldn't see me. And I asked her, I says, "Can you get that man's bill? I want to pay for their breakfast." And she was surprised at the gesture. And she did. And then I had a book in my car, an extra one of my books, and I decided I needed to bless the man with my book. So after I secretly paid for his breakfast, before I walked out, I walked back up to the table I had sat at. And he and his wife were still there eating. And I tapped him on the shoulder. I says, "Oh, by the way, this is my book. I'd like to give it to you." And then I left. To surprise people. Do something special for them that they're not even expecting. To be needed. Because people need to believe that there's still love and compassion in the world. There is still mercy and grace. There is still charity and benevolence for all the other mess in the world. And not for anything that you get in return. It's just given to you freely. You didn't ask for their telephone number. You didn't say, "Here's my business card." You just something done for you. Not because you asked, but because you are feeling the need to be needed. It is what God desires most. Let us always tell the Lord how much we need Him.